Thursday already it is this week. I feel like this week is just flying by. Today, my name is Andrea Oram. If we are just meeting, if you are new around here, hi and welcome. I'm so glad you're with us. Today, our topic of the day is, should I really teach that song when your curriculum has something questionable in it or it has a questionable song in it? What do you do, right? So that is our topic for today. I'm super excited to talk about it because it comes down to, well, okay, we'll get into it in just a second. First things first, I just want to let you know there is a course that I'm putting together. I just announced the pre-sale to the new music teacher support and community group. So if you're not in that group, go get in there because that's when all the giveaways announcements are. That's where all the announcements for new stuff coming out and new fun things and connection and engagement and community for new people. So the pre-sale is now open for that. You can check out a special bonus for the people in that group. Link is on my website, which is in the description of this video if you want to go poke around and learn more about that. If that's not for you, no big deal. But let's get started on our topic of the day. Lydia, good morning. I see if you're here, you can comment and I'll throw you up on the screen like this. Good morning, Lydia. And you say, hey, a great question. I agree. I've talked about this a lot with some of the clients that I coach. And so I figured, hey, this would be an important conversation for us to start around here. But should I really teach that song when your curriculum has a questionable song in it? What do you do, right? And questionable means a variety of things. So I want to start there. What does questionable mean, right? Questionable could be something simple like, it has a topic I'm not super comfortable singing about, like for example, here's a song. There's a lady that harms an animal, right? And it's supposed to be like a joke and it's supposed to be funny, but for my students, maybe that would not be a helpful song to sing about, right? Let's say that my students, don't see that as something that's funny, or it doesn't really fit in the culture of the space that I'm teaching in. Or here is something that I found that was slightly questionable that I was trying to consider whether it would fit with my classes. And that is a song that is supposed to be funny. Again, it's supposed to be funny about a guy who switches jobs with his wife, and they're both farmers, but they switch roles for the day. And he ends up so tired at the end that because he thinks that his wife does more work than he does. And so it's this idea that he shouldn't be lazy, right? For some groups of students, for some cultures, that might not be a very helpful or funny song, right? Because of the topic, because of the husband and wife dynamic, because there's also all sorts of reasons why it's not a bad song. It's not a bad topic necessarily, but it might just be questionable for the group of students that you work with, right? There are topics that are a little more non-negotiable, in my opinion, like if they are racist topics or if they are very blatantly dark, right? They might be somewhat dark versus very dark, right? And so it just depends, right? And it depends on your students. So that's how I want to answer that question is, should I really teach that song? I can't tell you yes or no. I can't tell you for sure one way you for sure should sing that song or you for sure shouldn't sing that song. And that's because you know your students best. You know the area that you teach in, your community best. If you grow up in a rural area versus an urban area, it might be a very different answer to that question, right? Because it just depends on the topic of the song or the story, right? Let's say that one of the animals dies in one of the songs. For your rural farm kids, that might be a very real thing that they experience on the day-to-day basis, and so they might be totally cool and not, emotionally hurt or, extra, not scarring, but you know what I mean? Like they might not be very traumatized by that concept because they're so used to it. They grow up with that on the farm. But for maybe some urban kids, you might want to wait till they're a little bit older to introduce a song like that, or just not at all, depending on your kids, okay? So that's how I want to answer this question. You are the gatekeeper of what happens in your teaching space, all right? You are the determining factor in what is appropriate and acceptable in your classroom and what is not. Just because a song or an activity is inside a curriculum does not mean that it's the best fit for your specific students. So, do your research on songs. Read through the lyrics before you introduce it to a class. Think about some of these things. If it is a questionable song, then it might not be a bad fit. You might decide that it's a good fit for your class or your students. You might decide that, nope, this isn't a good fit. Or it might be a situational thing, right? There is a song that I love, actually, called The Tailor and the Mouse. It's a song tale, and I have a book that goes with it that talks about the mouse getting sick. Right now, that might not be a good, helpful thing for some communities because of the last 2 years and what's been going on, right? But if you don't have a community that is as concerned about that, then maybe you are just fine singing that song right now. So it could be a situational thing too, okay? All right, so I wanted to clarify those things, and I want to encourage you that and empower you that you are that gatekeeper of your students, right? Whether they're your kids, whether they are homeschoolers, whether they are your public school kids, right? Whoever you are teaching, you are the decider of what happens in that classroom in terms of songs. And so you get to decide what you allow in and what you don't. So do a little research. It takes a little bit more time, but it's well worth it, in my opinion, because we are taking care of students' hearts and minds, and in my beliefs, souls too. All right. So I see another comment from you, Lydia. Good morning again. And you say, excellent point. We are the gatekeepers and guardians of our kids. We are. We are. And I don't take that responsibility lightly. They're not my kids. They're my students, but they're not my kids. But I don't take that responsibility lightly because I believe it's important. And I believe that it's my calling to introduce to them things that are good and true and lovely and beautiful. And that does sometimes mean we have to encounter topics that are hard, but we can encounter them with grace and with truth. So that's kind of the way I roll with things. I hope that that is cool with you. Let me know in the comments if you have ever encountered a song where you're like, yeah, I think I'm going to throw that one out. Or if you have ever encountered a song that maybe is fine normally, but you decided not to do it. I would love to hear how you approached that experience because I bet it can help other people as well. So have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you tomorrow. Bye for now.